Hello friends, let us go ahead with our journey of integrated marketing communication. Last time we touched upon integrated marketing communication planning, and then subsequently we traversed into different kinds of aspects related to that, and we tried to understand the relevance of planning. Now, from that we would going slightly deeper into the elements of what we saw as far as IMC goes in totality, not only with reference to planning, but also with reference to elements, modes, even vehicles. But while taking that course, we would first focus upon advertising, and here onwards we would try to foresee that what kind of a role advertising plays in whole of integrated marketing communication. Because we have to refer to advertising, we must touch upon the relationship of advertising with reference to marketing mix. After that, I would be speaking to you on media plan, and then we would go further. So, let us begin our course of relationship of marketing mix and advertising. This you are aware of: product, price, place, promotion. McCarthy structured this, and several marketing authors, they have been discussing the relationship of product, price, place, promotion as 4 P's. Now, it is very interesting. I am sure some of you would also be feeling the same way which I have always been feeling while talking about integrated marketing communication, especially advertising, that after a particular stage you realize that advertising is marketing basically, not to undermine the other piece of marketing basically, but what we feel after a particular stage is that promotion is marketing. And you would hear people talking about promotion as marketing. Have you ever heard people saying that what is the context of marketing you have been doing in relation to particular service or a product? Have you done marketing about it? Have you been marketing this product? So they precisely mean communication actually, and that too advertising. So, you see, that is where this magic of promotion and advertising comes into play, wherein people call it marketing after a particular kind of a stage. It is synonymous with marketing. As I said, not to undermine the relevance of other P's, but the point is that it holds a very strong position. And we have talked about it earlier in the earliest most sections of our discussion on integrated marketing communication, when we talked about the relationship of marketing communication with the other P's. So, just go through those videos and you would realize that how these aspects are correlated. So, just look at this once again, and when we are mentioning about marketing mix, at this particular stage wherein we would be focusing upon the relationship of advertising and the other P's as well, and then we would be traversing into advertising further on, I want you to remember one thing, that communication, as we have talked about, emphasizes upon the existence of a product and a service and the being. And when we say advertising, it is directed towards not only realization of that existence, but in material terms to execute the complete process which is designated with marketing as a whole. You see, however good the product is, and I have told you that earlier as well, if people do not know about it, whichever way it is essential, if people do not know about it, sometimes we do not assume that the price would be somehow related to us, or price of a particular product is justifiable in terms of the relevance of the product. We do not know many things about it, and that is what promotion does. So, I would be exaggerating if I say that we should be saying promotion, product, price, place. no, product should come first. But start thinking that way, because the students of this subject, I want you to think in terms of promotion and other P's, not just because I am delivering this talk to you, but this should be the importance of a subject. When you take it up, you should be looking at the concentricity of the concepts we are studying. So, let us look at the definitions. We have talked about these definitions briefly, but specifically advertising. You see, it is a paid form of non-personal presentation and promotion of ideas. You have to pay for it, and it is a non-personal presentation. That is a structural element of the definition of advertising. But the specific aspect which you should be noticing is promotion of ideas, goods and services of an identified sponsor. Promoting means to taking it further, where we have talked about it, to the minds of the customer, wherein it it generates positioning, it establishes positioning. We have talked about brand as well. So, promoting towards the minds of the customer. And then another wonderful expression is given by Bert Manning of JWT. Advertising is one of the important forces which serve the public interest. Now, he has widened the scope of advertising. It is a form of open communication between those who sell and those who buy. It is a form of advocacy open to any company or cause that wants to argue its case. Now, look at the beauty of this statement, wherein this particular aspect of saying that it is a form of advocacy open to any company or cause that wants to argue its case, presents its case in a logical manner which is acceptable to the respondent or the receiver. And the jury is public, as he says, and every purchase is a vote. Now, this is a view which a practitioner can give, wherein he says that it is a vote means you never know how it is going to work largely. Although we have talked about it that we have to be very precise, we have to develop an understanding through integrated marketing communication research, we have to develop a plan and so on, so that we want to be, we should be sure. But again, the point is that the final call and the decision is taken by people who are your targets, and they vote for it, means that they respond to it. Now, this, if you read it once again, which I will not do it for you, you will realize that ultimately it covers almost everything with a practitioner's point of view, wherein it says open communication between those who sell and buy. It's more or less it becomes, it is a one-way communication, but because of the level of response which is desired out of it or which it yields later on, it becomes a mutual communication later on at the end of the day. And IMC is all about generating mutuality of communication at the end of the day, and that is where we will be focusing upon. So, let us focus upon advertising as of now. There are several forms of advertising, and we have talked about it. It is a paid form of non-personal communication. Television advertising, one of the most mesmerizing kind of advertising. Sometimes nowadays it might be an exaggeration, but I tend to forget that am I watching a program or I am watching advertisements basically. And as a scholar of integrated marketing communication, I feel more entertained by advertisements rather than programs, with all due forgiveness from the producers of all the programs which I like, but advertisements, they attract me more. And then you see 30 seconds, 60 seconds at max, 20 seconds, you get associated with something, you get out of that. Now, this is the magic of advertisement. Very brief jingle, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and then you go there, you come out of it and you get associated with that, and many a times you start humming that basically. And then we have talked about jingles a lot, and I have been playing some jingles for you as well in due course of time, and I wish for you to go to YouTube time and again and watch several songs and jingles, basically. And this is one of my objectives, as a scholar of IMC, that I want you to get attracted towards this subject and go deeper inside while surfing several kinds of sites and going to YouTube and finding best of the innovative ads. Do keep writing to me on what kind of innovative ads you have found on television especially, which have attracted you more than the programs. So that is what television advertising is all about. And then we can go on and on, what different kinds of TV ads we have seen, but I will be covering those aspects somewhat when I would be discussing creativity as such, and then several other aspects when I will be touching upon. Then comes in print advertising, very important. Paper, text, reading is an integrated part of mankind's life, human's life. Wherever you see, I do not think we will get away from this anyways, despite of all the digital capabilities we have. People used to foresee that we will get away from usage of paper, and definitely it is not so environment friendly, and it is not environment friendly at all actually. But again the point is, could we be able to do that? I do not think so. So, if we are living with this, the relevance of paper and print advertising is ever increasing somehow, because it somehow has been taking a prominent role or continuing a prominent role in our lives. Newspapers are going ahead with their prominence. I do not think that despite of all the digital capabilities you have on your palms in the form of your mobiles, you have stopped, or many of you would have not stopped reading newspapers anyways. You see, getting a newspaper, picking it from the doorstep and laying back on your chair or sofa and having a cup of tea in the morning, you just can't leave that charm. Did you stop reading newspapers during COVID time? I do not think so. People kept on reading, and that was the first news which was given by newspapers, that newspapers are safe in terms of transmission of COVID goes. So, people did not stop. Although I remember that I had to go far away from my house to pick up my newspaper, because my newspaper vendor used to keep those copies there so that everyone can pick their respective copies, so that we cannot come in social contact with each other. So, that was we have been talking of social media, we reduce social contact, that is a paradox, we will be talking about that later on. But and social media actually tried to fill that void. But you see, print advertising is extremely important, and more or less the major concentration of print advertising is on newspapers. Magazines definitely have been playing a very important role in that, and it includes other material as well, brochures, directories, flyers. And do you get that newspaper inserts still at your homes? I do get some of those when local vendors, they get their flyers inserted in the newspapers, and when you pick up that newspaper, they just happen to fall down, and for that particular instant actually just sometimes just for the sake of picking those up, you happen to see them, and you get to know about some sale which is going on, and some special call or something which is going on. So, those even are occupying a particular kind of a space in our lives as of now. And I will be talking about creativity associated with print later on, media planning about print later on, which definitely is a mainstay, especially in Indian context, I should say. Direct mail and advertising. Now, advertisements to customers through mails, including brochures, catalogs, newsletters and flyers. One very important thing which I should point out here, belonging to an educational institution, I have seen students working for their placements. Mails are a very important mode of communication with the prospective recruiters, and those mails are more or less advertisements basically, although, but here I should say that they are not paid form of advertisements, that is no one pays for that. But specifically, you see, if you utilize someone else's services, you have to pay for that. But except for that particular difference, direct mailing is a very important mode for mode of reaching to prospective recruiters. How else would you reach there? You design your brochures and you get them printed at a price, of course, and on the other side you design them electronically and then you send them. Recently we have started designing video brochures basically. So, you see, students are very innovative. They are actually projecting their department highlights or their course highlights and their highlights, and specifically telling their prospective recruiters why should they hire them. What else would you do? Probably you would not be able to go for newspaper advertising for projecting students to recruiters. Would you be going for television advertising? I do not think so. Would you be going for radio advertising, which is the next section of our discussion? No, I do not think so. Display, podcast? No. So, you see, for specific kinds of promotions, you have to utilize very specific kinds of modes many a times, and that is where the relevance of these individual modes come prominently to us. Now comes one of the most exciting mode of advertising, radio. And why exciting? Since FM has come for past many years now. How many FMs do you have in your city? If you are staying in a metro, then definitely you would be having n number of FMs. Every little flick of you would be changing the channel, 92 point something and 94 point something and 98 point something. And with all due respect to all, I am just counting the numbers, not talking about individual FMs, but that has become a very prominent way of reaching out to customers. How many times have you heard many prominent personalities talking to you on FM through paid mode? Many a times nowadays they are using that to tell their voters and electorate what they are doing, what good they have done, and so on. So, you see, that is becoming actually that is supporting not only corporate organizations, commercial organizations, they are supporting political parties also, they are supporting government also, they are supporting they are participating in developing or establishing a social cause also, and so on. Radio has become a very intense part of our lives. One very important thing which I like about radio, which you should consider, is that radio, it's they put up spurts of entertainment, sometimes humor, sometimes real call based programs, many a times songs. So you see, if you do not like it, you just flick to something else, and then there you find something interesting. So, you have multiple choices, and if somehow, and I will be referring to that in media planning, if somehow the advertisers, they plan well for being present in almost all the channels or simultaneously in 2-3 channels at one point of time, you would be having the similar kind of an advertisement on all the channels and all the times kind of. So, that makes things easier for advertisers in terms of reaching to the customers and so on. But radio nowadays is becoming very important, and you have traditional stations, you have internet radio also, and then you have radio live reads also, and sponsorship programs also, testimonials and jingles and so on. I remember there is a program which I like most, one of the most likable programs is to me, of course you have different choices. So, that is wherein story is being read to the listeners. So, and what do you call radio listeners? Do you know that? Think about it, write to me on that, and let us see if you know if you are so associated with radio. Then comes in display advertising, user identifiable ads. It uses identifiable ads kind of, you see, and at display, any form of display, when we talk of it can be video ads, it can be larger displays basically, it may include banners also, it may include pop-ups also, and so on, whichever way you project something in terms of a visual. So that is where you call it display advertising. I remember a very interesting banner I saw somewhere, that was a drilling machine posted on the upside of a tunnel basically, and it says that it can drill anything. Now that was very interesting location for that banner, and that was an interesting thought process associated with a product which is to be marketed to a specific kind of a customer, wherein you do not want to use television advertising because it might be costly. So, for a drilling machine to be posted in the form of a banner at the opening of a road tunnel, so that was interesting basically. Then I remember that I saw a banner of company named simplymarry.com, if I remember rightly. They put up a banner of one female dupatta and one male dupatta, and not tied up in between on the road basically, and they say simplymarry.com. So that was very interesting kind of a banner basically, not to mention anything apart from just writing the name of the website. So you see, that is how innovative they are, and I would be referring to those in terms of creativity basically. And social advertising, you find very interesting print and banner ads which definitely are very attractive, because you see, social advertising, you require that kind of an attention, and you have variety of modes to reach to the customer, though cost is a big issue. I will be coming back to that later on. I remember that there are several ads related to gender bias and to related to social cause, to domestic violence and so on, wherein display advertising has played a very important kind of role. Podcasts, we all know, company sponsors podcasts, and they are playing a very prominent role nowadays as far as the situation goes. Then comes in mobile advertising. Now, if you would have talked to someone about mobile advertising just a decade back, I do not think that could have been so prominent. Mobiles, especially in India, they started becoming prominent by 1998-99, wherein you had very small screen of a mobile phone, and I remember those days you had Ericsson as a prominent mobile equipment, wherein you had small antenna coming out of the mobile, or people used to very charmingly pull up the antenna, and they used to put it up like a transmitter on their ear basically, and a big equipment, and they used to put it near their belts. So that was kind of a statement, and there you do not have scope for advertising, but smartphones, they started coming up. I used a black and white Nokia mobile phone for a very long time, which was very dear to me, very small kind of an equipment, and I used to like it very much because it was very sturdy kind of. But then display smartphones, they started putting up so much of advantage to you somehow, and when it became compulsion for one to check mails on smartphones, then somehow I had to switch it over. But that was my personal case. But in case of people, why when you look at their mobile phones, it's a moving kind of a companion in terms of everything. And advertisers, they have not lost the buzz, they have actually gained on that. They have gone for a very strong utilization of mobile advertising. So app based ads, games, social media, and social media definitely has taken a very prominent call on mobile phones, and we have talked about this in when we discussed AI and data science associated with the integrated marketing communication. You start talking about a subject, carrying your mobile phone in hands, and suddenly a pop-up comes in related to that particular kind of a subject. Recently I was visiting my daughter at her university, and when I was coming out of that university, suddenly a pop-up from that university came on my mobile phone. They knew that I was there somehow, and that is what AI is doing actually, and that is what mobile is doing. Social media advertising, we all understand, but have you noticed that social media advertising has a role which is specifically complementary to your connection with your peer group or people? You see, social media is actually connecting you with people, it is supposed to do that, but advertising has taken a complementary role there basically. So, the kind of advertisements which you find on social media is not just because it is not just related to information, actually it is actually connecting the dots, it is actually motivating you to go for further association with social media. Pay per click, that is a methodology, and that has become very prominent as far as advertising goes. So, company pay a fee when users click on their ads. Should they be clicking on the ads? They inevitably do. So, that is how the complete structure is, and that has become a very prominent form of, and you see, when advertisements started appearing on social media or mobile phones, one had to bring in a methodology of as far as transactions associated with that advertising, otherwise why one should entertain your advertisements or messages. So, that is how these kind of methodologies they came in. And then native advertising, associating advertisements as far as the aspect of local structure goes, or associated with the regionality, associated with the locale you belong to, actually that is how native advertising, and this is again a categorization which has emerged in due course of time. Otherwise, you see, if you will, and I will be talking about that, if you will look at advertising at large, the categorization has changed quite a few times, and that is how you see this is the resultant of further focus of organizations on a very specific kind of a geography or customers related or confined to a particular kind of a region or geography. So, that is how, because those customers might not be much bothered about what is happening beyond a certain space. Product placement advertising, wherein company pays to have their product embedded in media content such as a television show, series or movies and so on. Otherwise, there were sponsored television programs earlier, but now within the content you find, have you seen a movie star drinking Coca-Cola in a movie, and it is the part of the storyboard, and he is making it very prominent that you see Coca-Cola? Have you seen a movie star driving a particular kind of a brand of a car which is very prominent? Can you remember that James Bond movie recently we saw, Defender? So, I am talking about this example second time during this integrated marketing communication, but it is one of my favorites. So, just forgive me for that. Public service advertising. Now, promote a cause or initiative rather than a product, and that is again a form of advertising, and many organizations, as I told you, so governments and social organizations, political parties, they are focusing upon such kind of a thing, and Google India, they have a particular kind of a message related to thank you doctors, nurses and all healthcare workers, and so that is an example of. So, I will be talking about other aspects of advertising with specific relationship of advertising to support media. So, advertising and support media in the next subsequent session. Till then, bear with me. Goodbye for now.